Hey YouTube, it's been a few days since I put out a video, and it's been almost 2 weeks since we got version 9 installed. So I thought I would redo the Memorial Park Drive, which was that first route I did both on version 8.2 and the night after version, or the morning after version 9 was installed. So here it is 2 weeks later. For comparison's sake, I personally don't believe the car learns in between builds. I think functionality only improves between builds. That's a personal belief. Others believe differently. I also think that the situation changes every time you drive it, so every drive you do will be a little bit different no matter how similar it feels. I think that's just kind of the nature of machine learning and using AI and neural networks to do the work and perception. So anyway, I've got the route in here. We'll bang this out and do a little commentary on the way and see how it goes. We're starting with an intersection with the protected light. The navigation route, I did start it from the house, and then I'm kind of going here. Here it's got a double stop sign perception, and there's only one stop sign there. Interesting, it's kind of doing this steering wheel thing. There's definitely no car to the left or right. It says checking for visibility. I'm just gonna let it do its thing. There's nobody around me. It's kind of going to the right, even though the navigation is going to the left. Very slowly. And it went for it, kind of stopped in the middle of the intersection. So it did it, but only in a way I would have ever let it go with no one around me. Okay, so it did the same thing it's done before by stopping at the railroad line. And then it proceeded to the stop line kind of aggressively. Now it can do a right turn on red here, but the weird thing is that it stopped in the left lane to where as if somebody that wanted to do a right on red would come over here. So I'm kind of in the wrong, actually I'm kind of in the middle of both lanes, if you, to be honest. There's kind of two spots here, one for the left side and one for the right side. And I do have a car approaching from the back. If they've got a right blinker on, so I need to go ahead and take my position on the right side so I don't accidentally clip them. Okay, so that disengagement was because of lane placement to take a right turn. There were two spots there, and it chose kind of the middle instead of the left or the right. Well, I don't know what to say about that one, other than it just needs to get better at it. I'll go ahead and take a little snapshot. That one probably will get overwritten, but we'll let it do its thing. We do have a lot of trains here where I live in Jacksonville, Florida, and I have yet to capture a train on FSD9, but I have spoken with a few other beta testers that have. It does not render a train. Just like version 8, it renders the train cars as large semis that are kind of overlapping each other, so it's got a little bit of perception confusion. I have approached train crossings, and it still has a little bit of a difficult time perceiving the crossbars because they're so skinny and narrow, but it does properly identify the paint on the ground with the cross and the two R's. So, you know, I guess the ground markings are a good first step, but as far as perception of the intersection, there's a nice yellow light crossing there. All right, on this route, just so I do the exact same thing I did last time, I'm going to disengage here and take this right turn to force the navigation a certain route, and I'll disengage with the stalk so as to not actually generate a brake or a steering wheel disengagement. I've heard a lot of different things now on what disengagements are reported. The latest version of the report I heard was that the stock disengagement is the lowest priority disengagement for analysis. Okay, I'm re-engaging now that the route's, which makes sense, because if I'm forcing the disengagement with a stock versus a brake pedal or a steering wheel, that would make sense that was a disengagement that I'm not doing because of a navigation error more than I just wanted to change how it was done. All right, I know that sun's probably coming pretty bright in the camera and creating an exposure problem. I'm just going to deal with it for the moment. But here we have a stoplight with a protected left turn. Typically the green arrow comes on if you hit the light and the sensor correctly. This is the paint I was talking about before with the arrows and the railroad crossing showing up. So see how these look different than the interpretations of the lines? That's why I believe this is map data and this is perception data. So I don't know that it's perceiving a little bit of a wide turn there, but it did it okay. I don't know if it's perceiving the railroad. All right, it went around that bus almost to use that right white line and crossed it a little bit. Interesting. Here we got the parking spaces I've talked about before that create the right bound line, but there is no perceived line, even though those white spaces are marked rather well. So it's like it, you know, so this is kind of like a parking lot scenario where it needs to interpret parking spots as non-drivable space. It didn't go over there, but I don't know that it didn't go over there because it didn't think it could drive there. I think it was hugging the left side. All right, double green lights, a little bit of construction cones up here, and we should be proceeding straight, looks like, through this next light. It's got the green arrow. It needs to stop. Okay, it almost ran that red light. It would have run that red light. It was perceiving that green arrow, I guess. I saw the green over here is flashing and it thought that was its right of way. I'm gonna re-engage. Oh, okay, it's not ready yet, so I guess I need to wait. Sorry, I'm hitting some. That's disappointing. Running red lights is a big no-no. That's one of those things that if it's running red light still, I have large fears about a wide release. All right, it's green. I'm gonna re-engage as soon as I get the wheel back. All right, well, it did not do that before. I don't know if I had that. I was talking about scenarios are different every time. I'll have to look back on my previous videos to see if I had a red controlling with a right green arrow that was not controlling. But anyway, let's proceed. And this is a good example of streets with a lot of side parking, so you can kind of see how things are rendered and how it hugs the center line these days a little bit better than it used to. I'm not seeing any swerving on this right now, so it feels nice and smooth. We've got a series of 2 flashing yellow lights up here, which we've had mixed results with before. The perception has always been a little confusing to me because it's kind of perceived them as red and yellow. Let's see what we get this time. I'm seeing yellow, red, yellow and red, yellow, red, red, yellow. Okay, so it's mixing it. Okay, it slowed down to 13, which would have been very uncomfortable if there had been a car behind me. Slowing a little bit to look is fine. Okay, we have a pedestrian here. She decided to wait. Again, kind of, that wasn't, it braked a little bit there, but it wasn't uncomfortably slow and definitely not incorrect. So it treated 1 flashing a little bit different than 2 flashings there. It still needs a little bit of work. If it does that on the way back, I'll try to remember to snapshot that. So here we are again where I need to take a right turn and it's in the left side of the lane. So if there was another car coming to go right, it would get on the right side of me. And now that I'm turning from this left lane, I would be cutting them off a little bit. So that's definitely not a preferred technique. Without an actual lane divider there, I don't know if it's illegal. It's just if there's room for 2 cars, you need to be on the right side. All right, it's done a California roll at this stop sign before, but I don't think I've ever had a lead car here. So let's see what it does this time. All right, it went all the way down. So California roll is definitely not an always thing. It went all the way to 0. I don't know if the lead car changed that at all, but that stop sign was perfectly fine. It did not have to interact or wait for any traffic though, so it was a pretty simple scenario. Got a pedestrian up here on the right side in the sidewalk. Pretty good render there. Another flashing light, but I got a lead car this time. Let's see if it tends to follow the... No, okay, the lead car didn't really affect it, but it did treat it like a nice little bit of a pause. Hopefully when it paused, it was looking left and right to check that it was clear, but it didn't say looking for cross traffic as far as on an alert or anything. Just for grins, I'll show you. I've got 2 cars set right now. That's kind of the closing distance. If I change this down to 7 in city streets mode, see how much more distance it puts. It's definitely putting some more distance in there. Doesn't feel like 7 car lengths, but it's definitely more than it was at 2. Alright, I'm going to take it back down to 2. Let's see if it takes the follow me distance a little bit closer. Alright, we've got a green light, should follow straight through with a car that wants to turn left. And it did the right thing by not getting confused by that. You see I'm down to 2 and it snugged up a little bit. Doesn't feel like it's a... Okay, it slowed down and didn't reaccelerate quite fast enough. Sorry about these sun angles. It's really not a good time of day to film. Okay, that's a right turn lane. It needs to be in the left. Interesting. That's the first time I've seen a golf cart, and a golf cart is rendered as a motorcycle. Huh. I guess, you know, I don't expect them to have an icon for a golf cart, but it's interesting how it chose to use the motorcycle icon. Alright, that is the left turn lane, so it did appropriate by staying right here. That's usually due to good map data, not necessarily good perception. Just had a large truck with a large trailer pull out up ahead, so it should render that appropriately. Well, he's turning right too, but we'll see how that is perceived. He's got a blinker on and it's sort of flashing hazard, so that just kind of further defines blinkers are not perceived, whereas brakes are. It looks like it renders it just as a large truck, which is what would be expected here. So he was just yielding before he turned left. Now I need to just proceed straight and kind of jog over to the right a little bit. Here it's slowing down for a stoplight. It couldn't see due to that tree. That's the second time I've seen that. I like that. If it can't see a light that it knows is there due to map data, it needs to just slow down until it can see it. Okay, there's the disengagement for the destination and the end of the first leg. So, you know, it made a few different mistakes that time due to different scenarios. I'm not really happy with the lanes it was getting in due to the turns. When it needed to turn right, it wasn't really getting in the right lane. Additionally, I wasn't very happy with the way it's still handling yellow flashers. There were a couple other things in there too. All right, let me get reset and we'll start it for the second leg. Go. Okay, we'll reset for the second leg here. It's kind of a weird, not 90-degree left-hand turn. It's got pretty good visibility forward with the forward camera. And there was another blue car. There's still some discussion about what those blue cars mean. If anybody has absolutely figured it out, I would love to hear it. I've seen it at stop signs. I've seen it at my unprotected left turns with cross traffic, and that time it was a cross traffic on a T intersection. So it definitely seems to have something to do with in-path conflicts, but it definitely isn't consistent. And maybe that inconsistency is actually due to the visual neural network not being 100% ready yet. All right, very aggressively slowed there. I think it was just being careful around that car. That wasn't unsafe. I wasn't sure what it was seeing, but I think it was that car that it was turning left, that it was just kind of making sure it knew what it was doing. Because if it had jumped back over, that's interesting. I just got splashed by another car. It didn't turn on the, yeah, it did turn on the windshield wipers there. The hybridization of map data and perception is definitely one of the things in version 9 that I'm starting to feel is really, really important. Those of you that have watched more of my videos, the unprotected left turns, where I got stuck in the right turn and it just navigation looped until I disconnected, is one of those scenarios where I think perception and map data were fighting each other. Here we go. See, nice painted arrows. I think those arrows are painted map data, whereas everything else is a little bit fuzzy. I also think that okay, it stopped all the way to 5 for him. That was a little bit aggressive. It didn't needed to roll a little bit more after he went into the lane. But knowing where a stoplight is and not being able to see it due to an overhanging tree, which is a problem in and of itself, those trees need to be pruned, but at least the car didn't make the assumption it was green. It was slowing down until it could perceive it, and then it proceeded. Now, obviously, we still have some perception issues because it ran a red light tried to run a red light a few minutes ago, but the behavior of ensuring it can see the stoplight that the map says it's there, I think is a very good behavior. All right, coming up on a right turn. It's done pretty good with this one in the past. I think version 9 has done a better job. I've got a blinker on. There's a car behind me. Yeah, it's doing fine with these turns. Actually, it looks like this route is choosing a slightly different route than it has in the past. I don't know why. It's actually going out on Roosevelt Avenue, which is more of a highway. So I think I'm going to go ahead and intervene and take a left turn here, just to kind of not get into the 3-lane highway mode. Okay, I'm yielding for flashing red here. And you see, it does good at perceiving red. It's yellows, it has trouble perceiving. It feels like consistently I see yellow and red. All right, once it remaps, I'll go ahead and re-engage. One more navigation force here. I'm going to force it this way. Okay, this is kind of the direction I had wanted to go. it's interesting how it chose a different route. Obviously, it has traffic data it's using. Here we are again. I'm taking a right turn, and that right lane is open, and it's taking a right on red, which is legal, but it kind of took it from the center lane. I'm gonna catch a few of those. That's my pet peeve of the day. All right, we're hitting those same yellow lights that we've kind of didn't really behave before, and I already see a red, yellow, 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 red. Okay, it didn't slow down a lick for that one though. All right, this one is choosing to slow, but that was an appropriate slow, so I'm not gonna flag that one. Got a cone marking a truck here. It looks like it gave that a little bit of room. So just coming up here at this intersection is that stoplight it tried to accidentally run on the way here. But on previous drives, there's some construction up here that the car got confused on, and it ended up fixing it. Okay, car just crossed there. Nice smooth deceleration without too much aggressive behavior. Got a little bit confused here before. It needs to go straight. Okay, it's kind of doing what it did before. Okay, but it didn't go as far this time. So it got a little confused, but it rectified itself much quicker that time. So I'll say that was a good recovery that time. I wish there was a thumbs up button sometimes. Now here we go. I need to go straight. The map says straight, and this trajectory is confusing me a little bit. I wonder if it's perceiving this as a road closed. In some YouTube videos for some other testers, I have seen it avoid road closed signs. I'm not sure if all right, the camera just clipped off while I was talking there. Sometimes my voice sounds like the voice activation. All right, let's see if it goes straight. It needs to go straight. Okay, it fixed itself. So even though that trajectory was looking like it wanted to go left, it's like once it creeped forward a little bit, it fixed it. So that was really good behavior. It remapped to the right here. I didn't really want to go this way. It wants to get back out of that highway. I'm just going to let it do it from this point on. If it wants to get on the highway, we've got enough of the drive. The only thing that it really cut off that was sometimes interesting was the drawbridge. All right, we got a guy on a bike here. This is always a good one to see. He's kind of yahooing around a little bit. Across the lane there. It slowed down. I think it yielded enough, kind of weaving between two cars here. That was a pretty good reaction. Nice slowdown and good path. Okay, but with this renavigation, it gave itself a unprotected left, which is the 3 lanes of cross traffic. So, I guess in that light, on this video, we're going to get to see a nice unprotected left. So I'm going to go ahead and get my seat ready to look at this. There is a street light about 1 block to the left. And here we got some nice blue cars. So if that means in path, now it's doing quite a few of them, but it's not doing all of them. All right, it does have a median, but there's a lot of traffic to the left. I'll just kind of hold this down for you here. This stoplight will create a very good gap eventually. I just hope it waits for it. It's in the left side of the lane, which is fine. I do have a car, actually I don't have a car behind me. I have a car parked in a driveway right next to me. All right, there's a tiny gap here that I really hope it doesn't go for because the traffic's moving too fast. It did a good job waiting there. All right, there's another small gap. It could creep and start, but it needs to wait. Okay, it needs to wait. All right, now there's another car coming. I'm getting close to being out into the street. After this truck here, it can go. Let's see if it goes all the way. Very slowly. Give me a commit there. All right, the left lane is clear. It needs to accelerate. And okay, there was a car. I let it go, but there was a car coming behind me that was going about 50, and you see it did about a 30. It did it. So I'm not gonna say it didn't do it. It waited for the right gap. What it didn't do was, when it was in this lane, accelerate like a human would, because you know you have traffic that is going faster than you. It treated it as if this lane is mine. I'm gonna go the speed I want, which is legal, I think. It just maybe not necessarily the best defensive driving technique to prevent somebody hitting you that's, you know, could be distracted or coming too fast from behind. You know, that's an interesting logic question. You know, if you wait in the median here and you get into the left lane, you need to assume this is the fastest lane and this is the slowest lane. So you either need to get in here or cross over to the slowest lane or rapidly accelerate in this lane. It's not doing that behavior right now, at least in that situation it didn't. And I've never really seen okay, that was a disengagement for, I don't know why it was jumping over in that lane. I have to look at that in post. That was not good. Okay, sometimes those crazy disengagements make me lose my train of thought, which is fine. That's kind of why we just always got to be diligent and watch what we're doing here. Okay, it uncomfortably slow there for no reason. Went all the way down to 38 when we got a 45 and traffic is going about 50 here. It's kind of a downhill street light scenario with a turn lane. Not sure why it slowed there. Did a good job there slowing for that traffic, you know, just slowing down ahead of it. Nice and smooth, it wasn't too aggressive. Okay, those brake lights, I just had to intervene there because it slowed too much for that car. And there's a car right on my tail. Here we're on this highway. It hit the brakes pretty hard there. I've used up all my snapshots. I only get about 5 or 6 of those, Tesla has said, so I can't hit that every time there's an intervention. Interventions are stored normally and they go back to Tesla. The snapshot button up there is for highlight reels and things we really want them to see first. So I kind of have to pick and choose where I use that. All right, here's an unprotected left without a green arrow at this moment. It's got a nice big gap. It usually rolls these just fine. For some reason, those are almost always just right when it's got a nice green roller. It does a good job. And stop sign turn a little wide if there was another car coming, but it did it. All right, well, that's it for today. I would say there's some good and some bad in there. You know, hey, it did a great unprotected left turn with the exception of the acceleration, but as far as lateral path, it went just fine. Some unfortunate running a red light scenarios with perception. If any of you see anything detailed in that scenario where it almost ran the red light, please put something in the comments. I really like to see what you guys think about why it chose to do what it did. I think it was seeing the green arrow as controlling, even though it wasn't. Yeah, I appreciate your comments. Let me know what you think. We'll get some more videos out if we get a new update soon. Have a great day.